Welcome back to the Alamo Ranch Ward podcast. This is episode, now I'm losing track, I think this is 8 or 9. We'll see when I actually publish it. And today on the podcast, we have the amazing, the awesome Matthew Gedge.
Okay, hello.
Hey, welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know Matthew, he's been in our ward for a few years now. How long have you guys lived in the ward?
Just about 4 years, I think.
And where'd you guys move from?
We moved from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, or as my grandpa used to call it, Lost Wages, Nevada. Great. Well, I mean, let's kick it off. Like, tell us about yourself. Tell me about your family and about you, for those people who don't know you.
Okay, so I was born in Utah, not Las Vegas, and then we moved to New York. My dad started military, and then a long list of places from there. Like, we were in New York, moved around a little bit there. And then Texas before. This is my second run through Texas. We lived
in San Antonio? Or?
In Wichita Falls, up north, really high up north. And then we lived in England for a while. It's when I first started having, like, memories. So that was, like, my first home that I remember.
Okay. So, like, what age were you about when you lived in England?
I was 7 through 9.
Okay.
Almost turning 10.
Okay. Didn't come back with an English accent, though. A
little bit. I moved back. And then in school, in Mississippi, where we moved after, I said, like, one line, and everybody started laughing. Like, what did I say? They all said, you had a British accent for that one word. And I would say stuff like, it's your go, instead of it's your turn.
Yeah, all like the little different words they use over there, right? For things. Even though it's, English, it's a little bit different kind of English.
My parents have said, like, people will say that because we both speak English, it's the same culture. Not even close. It is. You can manage in both, but it's different. It's very surprising if you've never seen one of the other. Like, everything is super small in England, and, like, the roads are all really narrow.
Yeah.
A lot green all year round. I don't know if I ever remember a sunny day. It felt nice. The weather was super nice, but it was always a little bit overcast.
No, absolutely. I love going to England. I've been there for multiple times, and it's one of my favorite places. I think it'd be super great to like, kind of have some growing up years there,
It was super nice.
The culture's awesome. Okay, so second time through Texas, and family moves to San Antonio. Well, via Las Vegas, right? Comes to San Antonio a few years ago. So you are 18 now, or almost 18?
17. I turned 18 in a little less than a month.
Okay, a month away from your 18th birthday. And so you're a senior in high school?
Yep.
And your family of 4, right?
Yes.
Mom, dad, and we have one sibling.
Mom, dad, sister, and a dog.
And a dog. That's right. I forgot the dog. See, I'm not a pet person, so I just forget the animals. What's your dog's name?
Nellie, after Nellis Air Force Base, where we were stationed in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And because of President Nelson.
Now, was that on purpose, or was that an afterthought?
It was on purpose.
It was on purpose. Okay. Because I was like, well, maybe, was it before President Nelson became the prophet, or after?
It was after. He was the prophet when we lived in Mississippi.
Okay. You lived in Mississippi, too?
Yeah.
And you lived everywhere. So what are you into? Like, what do you like to do? What are your interests and hobbies?
I am interested in sports and stuff. I did soccer a little bit in England, swimming in Mississippi, and I'll play other sports. I've just never been on a team super competitive. And then I like board games and card games, stuff like that. We never had video games in the house.
What's your favorite board game?
It's like a campaign game, a little bit like Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, cool.
My friends and I do that sometimes.
Awesome.
Then our family does card games a lot. I've done drawing, a little bit of writing. I've never gotten more than, I think 30 pages was my longest, and then it started going off the rails.
You can write a book at age 16.
Yeah. A really good book that I have, though, was written when the guy was 15. It's a really thick, it's a full series now.
Really?
Wow. He started when he was 15. It's actually pretty good.
That's awesome. And you're a black belt in something, right?
I am a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. Yeah, I got my last degree just this December.
Wow. So for people like me who don't know anything about Taekwondo, tell me more about that journey of, like, how do you get to a 3rd-degree black belt? What does it take? Like, when did you start, and how many years has it taken to get to that level?
I started in Las Vegas. I had a friend, our next-door neighbor, he also did it, and I'm like, I'll try it out. I've always kind of been interested. And I go, and Taekwondo is mostly leg-focused. It's like for all kicks and traditional stuff, not things that I would use in a fight. It's just like a good discipline training and a good, like, energy class. So I went and I started, and this is good. And they start you off with very basic stuff, like how to punch. They taught me how to punch correctly.
Okay.
And then you just go through the steps, and once every 3 months, there's a testing for your next belt. Okay. How I am a 3rd degree now, though, is because they also have week-long advancement camps where you just go every day for 3 hours for a full week, and then at the end of that week, you automatically move up to your next belt instead of having to wait the few months. Otherwise, I would probably still be 2nd degree black belt at this point, and then you slowly advance in forms. You've got traditional memorization of moves. Once you hit the slightly more advanced, you go into sparring, where you have protective gear, and then you actually learn how to fight. And
another person.
And you fight another person, you learn how to move around. And then we moved here, and then we started into a little bit more... Our instructor now was a bit more aggressive, I guess is a word.
Really?
He's, strict, very fast talker. We first moved here, I did not understand a word he said, and it was still during COVID, so he wore a mask and would talk super fast.
It's not because he has an accent or
no.
Like, he's just talking too fast and wearing a mask. Okay. Wow. So what have you learned from Taekwondo? Like character building, or just like how has it made you a different person, do you feel like, over those years of being focused on it and working on it?
I would say character building, a lot of just determination, because during all of the testings, the main thing is to show that you can do it, to show that you want and have that determination. So mostly it's just like physical fitness. I've gotten so much just physically active, so much better at that. Good. Because of this class.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun thing to do. It helped filled my time, especially during COVID. They had homeschool classes. I'm homeschooled, and so we could just go, like, in the middle of the day, which was not the most fun, because then nobody else is there, and then it's just you and the instructor, and he's watching you the whole time. With a bigger class, you can maybe take a break when he goes off to help other people.
Right.
This time, no. He knows exactly what'll work you the hardest. It is so tiring.
Oh, that reminds me of when our kids were doing gymnastics during COVID. It was very similar. Like, the coach was right there all the time, and, like, we had a very, very technical coach. Eli would call it, like, technical. He's very nitpicky, you know? So he'd be like, ooh, that's decent. He was Russian too, right? So we, ooh, it's decent, you know? Like, anyway, we have funny stories from that time too. Funny how that's like 5 years ago, right? COVID time, but like it feels like it was yesterday.
I remember thinking like COVID was a joke at the very beginning. Yeah. I had one friend when I was still public schooled, and we were just like acting. We wiped down our entire first period class just because we were pretending. And then turns out people actually started doing that for real.
Oh, wow. That's funny. You mentioned being homeschooled and school. So like, what has that been like? You know, I mean, you and your sister, right? Like with your parents, but you've been part of bigger groups too, like co-ops and things. Like, what has it been like to be in homeschool?
I really like it because I have more time to do like things I want, and I can stay home. I can make my own like a good full meal. We've got leftovers.
Okay.
But we started in Las Vegas when COVID hit, and our school was not efficient at doing online stuff. Like we had very little schoolwork. And then when that ended, my mom pulled up all these other curriculums that she had heard about, because my cousin has been homeschooled his entire life.
Okay.
Which I thought was weird until we started homeschool. Like, you've never been in a cafeteria? You've never gone to a class?
You've never lived.
Yeah, and then we started that, and we actually really liked it. We were home all the time. We, like, saw each other. We could help with other classes and questions. Our mom saw what we were learning.
Yeah.
And then she didn't have to ask us every day, like, what did you learn about? And I'm like, I don't know.
Don't quiz me on that.
2 + 2 = 4. And yeah, so now she could help us with that. And then we moved from Las Vegas to here, and since we liked it so much, and we, like, had been in contact with people before we moved that, like, we were also homeschooled, and we go to this other group, and we meet with families. Our mom was like, oh yeah, this sounds like a very good community to just keep going homeschooling with.
That's awesome.
And so there are like co-ops where a bunch of families once a week will go, like they rent a building, they go and they have more organized classes. Like parents will just volunteer to prepare the lessons and teach. You've got projects and assignments and other stuff similar to that.
Yeah. That's great. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about... Oh, I wanted to ask you again, like following up, going back to what you talked about, like growing up as a military kid. Like, what was that like being a military kid growing up, moving a lot? Did you know that was unique or different, or were you just like, that's just my life? Like, that's what we do?
I never like thought about it as normal or not, because even before military, like I moved when I was first 1, and then 4 or 5 years old, and then 6. So I was very used to it. And another thing that I think was very lucky is that many of our friends would have moved or were about to move when we left. And it's like we had military friends in Las Vegas. They moved just before we did. So all my friends were already gone. I was like, okay, next place, next house.
So you felt like because everybody else was transitioning, it was natural for you to be moving too.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not always just the one leaving my friends or whatever.
Yeah, every few years I'd be like, okay, where's the next place? I would kind of get excited for it. My sister did not like it.
No, she struggled more, huh?
She would start crying like when it was time to go. Like, okay, we get to go on a plane. We get to sleep on a plane. We get to just go somewhere else. We made cardboard forts whenever we had all the empty boxes, and that was super fun. Yeah, I was always used to. I'm very glad that I've been able to do that, and we have learned how to make friends very fast.
Yeah.
Like, even here, I feel like I've been friends with all the people I know now for so long, but it's only been 4 years.
Yeah. You learn how to make friends quickly. You learn how to connect with people quickly, get involved in church quickly, right? Because you're just like, there's no time to waste because I'm going to be here a few years and I'm going to be gone again. Yeah. Like, living in so many different places, how did that help you grow or learn? Being in such a diverse number of, from the South to the to Texas, which whatever, Texas is its own thing. You know, you've lived in the West, you've lived overseas. Do you feel like you got more exposure to different kinds of people and different versions or flavors of the church even?
Yeah, I do say that I've had a much broader view of just the world, because New York, I remember just a little bit. It was mostly our neighborhood, but just the fact that I live there, I kind of feel like I have experience in a big city, and we visited a few times, so I know how to work my way through places like that. In England, it was much more spread out in the country. Like, the church there was very small. My school only had 60 kids. It was the military school on base, which wasn't that many, but still a very small community. Mississippi was very interesting temperature change from there, because England, it rains and it's cold. It was raining when we first showed up in Mississippi. I was like, I don't want to be cold. And then I actually reached out, I'm like, it's warm rain. This is warm water falling from the sky. This does not make sense. And it would rain so much. We never watered our grass once in Mississippi. And it was just such a different place. And then we went from soaking wet to Las Vegas and just super warm. And then both of those prepared me for Texas.
It's just the mixture of the both. It's like hot in the summer, you know, sometimes rainy, sometimes humid, but not, you know, It's like, it is an interesting mix of both, isn't it? And in particular, like seeing, you know, the different ways the church is super strong in Las Vegas. You probably were part of a ward that was like 300 people.
Yeah, we had, our deacon's quorum was split.
Yeah,
we had, giant. It was just so big.
Versus like Mississippi or England, like you're probably going to be in smaller wards, like smaller youth groups or primary groups, which are, you know, just different kind of flavor of the church. Yeah,
even with that, although, like, I don't ever remember seeing church practices or the way people acted and being like, that's different from England, or that's different from how these people, like, act. Like, the basic doctrine of the church was the same everywhere.
Yeah, that it's so cool how that is, right? You can say, like, the church is the same everywhere. It's like the church is different everywhere, but the church is also the same everywhere.
Yeah, it was good to have that. When we moved, that was the one thing that would at least always be the same. Like, a new school, they would somehow have different ways of teaching, but church, like, you go to sacrament meeting, then you go to primary, and then you go home, or you do a linger longer.
You kind of know exactly what to expect, right? When you show up. That kind of bridges me into talking more about church, because you're about to, like, embark on this amazing journey. You've prepared yourself and you've received a mission call. Tell everybody about your mission call.
So I started putting in my papers early this year, January, February, and so then I put it in, set my availability date, and then I prepared to wait. And I'd been hearing about people got them early, and so I was kind of hoping, like, I don't like to wait way too much. I want to get it. And then the earliest I'd heard was 8 days.
Okay.
8 days later, I was on a camp out, and I'm walking down to the fire pit, and I see two of our youth leaders walking up, and they say, "Oh, Matthew, we were looking for you. Your mom called." And first, I'm just, okay, what's going on? Yeah. And they said, "You got your mission call." And I was, whoa, that was so fast and the worst timing possible.
That's right.
I can't open it for a week. And he said that two other guys who had also turned them in, like, around the same time had gotten them the same day. I'm like, that is not possible. This does not happen. And then I was like, okay, we all have to wait. Like, well, I'll just be wondering, like, placing bets, like, where are you going? I don't know. And then they both got to open theirs because their dads were there. They had access to, like, their phones. They could just pull it up. I'm like, well, now I have to do it. I don't want to be the last guy just, like, wondering, struggling over where I'm going.
I have to, like, wonder. The anticipation's killing you.
Yeah.
So then you decided we figured out a way for you to open up your call while we were at camp.
Yeah.
So we were able to get your family on Zoom, and you were able to kind of open it up and share it with them live, because your mom was going to go to camp too.
Yeah.
So she was also dying.
She said not functioning right.
Here she was, like, trying to prepare to go to a camp at the same time. Like, her son's mission call is sitting there in the inbox, you know, waiting to be opened. I can't imagine, like, the anticipation would kill me. So you guys were able to open it together and, like, you know, share that moment together as a family. And then later on that evening, we had a fireside at camp, and then you were able to share your mission call with the other guys at camp, which was kind of unique.
That was super cool. I feel like both because the areas that all three of us are going are in, like, kind of similar areas, a little bit close, and the fact that we did it the same place, it almost feels like we're going on the same mission.
Yeah, that's really unique. So where did you get your call to?
I am going to Uruguay, Montevideo West Mission.
Uruguay, which is in South America. It's sort of southeast of Brazil. Southwest of Brazil.
Southeast.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure you opened it up and you're like, Uruguay. Like, I've never, you know, I'm sure you've heard of it, but, like, never been there, right?
Yeah, my thoughts of where it was either, like, it's maybe South America. It also could be Europe.
Okay. You're like, I got to double check where this is.
Yeah. And then my parents showed me on the map. And then I had not heard of other people who had been there. Like, I had sure other people had been, like, nobody in my family, like, I'm going to be the first Gedge to go to Uruguay.
Yeah.
And then I hear about at least 5 family members that had also gone to Uruguay.
Coming
like my cousin's husband, like my mom's cousin, all these other people. I'm like, well, at least now I've got help because I know nothing else about the country. And then like my dad and I were looking up, said it's a temperate place. It's got, they eat a lot of meat. It's like on the beach, kind of tropical. And then other people are telling me they eat a lot of pasta there. Be ready for a lot of pasta.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay, I like pasta. I'm gluten-free though, so that might be a problem.
So tell me, what have you learned about Uruguay since you got your call? Like, what have you learned that like makes you excited, and what have you learned that you're like, that'll be interesting to learn more about?
I've learned it's like the most economically stable one of them in South America, so I'm not worried about like the area around me. I'll be kind of rural, so a lot of walking, which I don't mind walking, so that'll be fun.
Probably taking public transportation too. Yeah, because that's how my mission was in Brazil. It was a walking mission. We didn't have bikes or cars or anything, and we would take a lot of buses when you had to go further than you could walk. And Spanish, they speak Spanish.
Yes, I'm serving in Spanish.
How is your Spanish? Have you learned a little bit? Is that yet? Or
I've done un poco español. A little bit, yeah. I've been working on the tall embark, one that the church provides to help learn. I have a friend who served mission somewhere Spanish speaking, and they recommended a book where it just says how it translates from English to Spanish. Like if a word ends in T-I-O-N, in Spanish it'll be C-I-O-N.
Yeah.
And all those different things. So you already can just translate words that you know in English are the same in Spanish.
So you're getting a little bit of head start on like sort of starting to understand how the language works. And like actually learning to speak it is going to be probably when you get there, when you're actually talking to people.
Definitely.
When you really learn how to speak the language, but learning about the language is a really good first step.
Yes, my dad served his mission in McAllen, Texas, speaking Spanish. My aunt has learned Spanish, and so they're both, like, whenever I hear something I don't know, I can ask them. Like, my dad got a call one night, and I just hear him immediately start speaking in Spanish, which he doesn't normally do.
Okay.
And I started thinking, that's going to be so cool when I can understand what he's saying.
Walk me through a little bit the experience of receiving your call, like the emotions. Did you feel nervous at all? Did you feel just like excited? What were the kind of the emotions that in the preparation to and then receiving your call? How did that all feel?
I wasn't really nervous or in any way that affected me until like I hit the open button.
Okay.
And so before, especially because I was also preparing for camp, like until they said, you got your mission call, I was just thinking about other stuff. I was having fun.
Yeah,
like
just thinking about camp.
Yeah, very, very busy. While I was getting my papers already, it was, at the beginning I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening. Like, let's do it. And then throughout the kind of long process of just filling out all the stuff, making sure I had everything ready, just, I guess, the newness of it kind of wore off. I was still, like, excited whenever I'd pull it up and check, like, another thing off. But I've gotten used to stuff quickly, so it seemed normal already that I was doing this. And I'd been, like, just thinking about it, had it on my mind for a long time. So it wasn't, like, a big shock. Like, you suddenly have to do this. You have to struggle through everything and learn how to do it.
Okay. Had you, like, all your life wanted to go on a mission, planned to go on a mission your whole life, pretty much?
I had never thought, I'm not going to go on a mission. But I definitely remember the point when I decided this is something I want to work towards instead of other people telling you, this is a responsibility you have. Like, okay, I'll go do it. This is when I want to do it for myself.
What led to that?
There was another camp, I believe it was in Texas, one of my first campouts here, and there was a fireside one night when three other guys who had gotten their mission calls then, they were talking about their experience and like how they felt their desire to go on. And I just remember thinking like, that actually sounds super cool how they want it. Because before I'd just heard people say like, I decided I wanted to serve. I'd never heard why or what led them. Mm-hmm. And so having somebody else share a more relatable experience, and just the fact that it was getting a little bit closer, it made me think, yeah, I want to start working towards this.
That's awesome. As I talk to people, you know, like every time you come into my office, we usually say, how are you feeling about a mission? You know, what are your thoughts? You know, you're nervous or are you excited? And I mean, I ask that almost everybody that comes in my office that's your age, you know, like a teenager. Because I want to kind of always have a sense of like where they're at in that journey. Some people are all in from the beginning, right? And some people are like express concern from the beginning, right? Or have doubts or aren't 100% sure. But I think one of the things I've noticed is, just like you're saying, or just like happened with you, everybody has a moment or a series of moments or a series of events that leads them to feel like, oh no, I want to do this. I've heard all my life I should do this, or I've heard that this will be good for me. But there's something that comes together for everybody where they're like, yeah, I think I'll do this. And it becomes like a thing you want to do and not just a thing you're being told to do. Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Okay, so when do you start your mission?
I start home MTC August 4th, and I leave August 3rd.
And you leave to the Mexico MTC?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll be trained in Mexico, and then from there you'll go down to Uruguay.
Yeah.
What are you focused on now, between now and August 4th?
The main things I've been taking care of is the medical information, just to get that out of the way.
More immunizations, more things to do, right? Checklists to go through.
Yesterday we drove down like 45 minutes to the base to see if we get one, and I walk in, they say, you actually already have this. Oh, okay. And we drive back, and we just spend like an hour and a half driving to say, you already have this. We needed an extra word. Thank you.
There you go. Well, at least we know, right?
There was a sale on suits, and so my mom was like, we need to get your suits now.
The clothes.
Well, they're all cheap.
Yeah.
And so we can get good stuff. And so we've been doing some of that, not too worried about the rest. So I've got a few months. But just consistently working on Spanish, trying to make a habit out of that. The travel information, because I've traveled so much, like I've gone internationally by myself, I've sort of been skimming through that. Just like, is there any different stuff I need to know? But I feel like I've got a little bit of head start. It's like, it's teaching, you need to show up to the airport half an hour early. You need to bring this many bags. You cannot bring weapons in your bag. I'm like, I know this.
You know this. You've done this before, right? Yeah, it's definitely different for someone who's never traveled before, never been even on an airplane before, and all kinds of people go on missions with all kinds of levels of experience.
Yeah, my dad, he lived in Utah before. McAllen felt like another country to him. He had never been on a plane before. Yeah. People said, were you disappointed you didn't go international? Like, no, that felt international.
It was foreign, man. South Texas was foreign land. You mentioned having gone international before. Last year, I think it was last summer, you went to Ecuador, or was it?
Thanksgiving I went to Guatemala.
Guatemala. See, look, I'm messing up the story. Why don't you tell the story? You went to do a really cool service activity. Tell people about this awesome Guatemala trip you went on.
Yeah, so I have a friend who used to live in Texas. Now they live in Kentucky. We still keep in contact, but he invited me to this humanitarian trip that him and his family has done before. And this time his dad was kind of managing the group.
Okay.
And so he said, you can come and join our family, because it's mostly family centered, but my mom and dad had just work. Mom wanted to stay home. My sister was going to, I don't know, a camper, some other activity. And so I'm like, I've got the week free, mostly. I also had school that I had to pack into short amount of time. But then I signed up, just got my flights, and I meet up with them at the airport. We fly to Guatemala City, which is where Zach Hillman is going on his mission.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. I've told him that that's a really nice city.
Yeah.
Beautiful temple. And so we get to the city. It's a really nice hotel. In the lobby, it looks like a 5-star hotel. And then the rooms were still really nice. Such good food, breakfast. You could go to an omelet bar and just point at the stuff you wanted, and they would make your omelet right in front of you.
Nice.
And it was so good. They had mushrooms, peppers, just onions, all this
everything
good stuff.
Yeah.
All the food there is delicious.
Better than camp, probably.
Yeah. And then we got on buses. We drove 8 hours through just winding roads, and all the drivers in Guatemala are the best drivers on the planet. It's so packed. The traffic there is so bad, and nobody uses blinkers. They just go. And because everybody's nice, they just let you go.
Yeah.
But our full massive his driver would just go through. He knew how to get everywhere.
And these are not nice roads everywhere. It's not
in the city they
paved.
were small but nice. But then out in the country and the smaller towns, they were rough roads. And we were going on these smaller buses that we had loaded onto. And then from there, we eventually got to a small town. I believe it was Chicolom or Senu was the small town we were mainly staying in. We stayed at a school.
Okay.
They let us use. We'd go shopping around the town. They had a market day while we were there. We walked around, looked at all the cool stuff.
And then what was the sort of humanitarian part of the trip? What did you guys do? Some projects?
Yeah. Then from each day, we'd wake up and go on these cattle trucks, a truck with big open bed, metal cage on the back, 2 hours up a rocky mountain up to this little town. And we built garden beds. They had a water filter teaching system, because they don't have access to filtered water there. They just have rivers nearby that they might boil.
Okay.
Or other things like that. So we brought buckets and a filter system. People would teach them how to use. And then I mostly helped set up garden beds. We built probably over 50 or something like that. Wow. We were there. I'm not sure the exact number. We split up into different groups. We would just spend all day up there and then drive the 2 hours back. And then up another day, and we also made a water tank, a big concrete water tank. I say we built it. We walked up there, and we helped. The Guatemalans there, the locals, they had already walked up mile-long hike to the specific site from the road, carrying 100-pound bags of concrete powder, and they strapped them from their forehead onto their back, and they just walk up back and forth. They've been doing it since 4 a.m. to get this huge pile of rocks and powder up there. to help, so that we would have materials to help make the concrete. They already put the poles there. They dug the pit. And then even while we were making it, they're just so much more used to that type of work. Like, they would just go in and like, no, we can take care of this. You just go move the buckets over here. We'll, like, layer it all down. They were fine getting muddy. My arms were caked in concrete dust when we were done. Just so tiring. Everybody else, they were still going strong. They're like, we could do this all day.
Yeah, you learned a lot about hard work, I'll bet. Like, really physically laborious work.
I slept so well every night, even though it was not soundproofed. It was very loud. One guy said, my friend, he said, I heard a goat screaming last night. We look around, there's no goats here. Or you're probably just dreaming. There's no goats. The next morning, as we look out the window, there was a goat on the other side of the river, right outside the school. We're like, never mind, our bad. You heard a goat.
I thought you were going to say somebody snoring. Snoring sounded like a goat or something. How did you think that experience being in Guatemala has prepared you for a mission?
It has definitely prepared me to be aware of the different lifestyles, because wherever I went, it was like places where the military would provide our housing or help us get other places. But then in Guatemala, it was like we went into someone's home and they taught us how to make tortillas.
Oh, cool.
And they still had like packed down dirt floors, like tin roofs, and just their home was still so happy. And I was looking at like their house, like, this is such a different way of living than I have personally seen. And then I feel like that's going to help me be just more aware and not shocked, so I'm not distracted by things like that when I go to Uruguay, if that's a similar circumstance.
Yeah, 100%. There is a certain level of culture shock when you go to a developing country and you realize, like, this is a tin roof, oh, this is like a cardboard wall, oh, this is a dirt floor, something you're not used to in your daily life. And then you show up and you're like, oh, but you're still people and you can be happy, right? And like, happiness can happen anywhere, and we're with any level of earthly possessions. It doesn't take, being in a developed country. Now, comforts of home are nice, right? Like, but you realize people live in all kinds of different circumstances and live in all kinds of different ways and still experience life the same way.
Yeah, and even sometimes I was a little bit jealous of them because they would just be outside all day, like playing soccer. They were all so good at soccer, and they were good at just people skills. They could like talk and manage people, and there's no set prices. They all try to barter, and then when they see us foreigners, like coming, we want to buy souvenirs.
All the prices go up.
Yep. One time I was with my friend walking in a tourist town, so things were just more expensive, and every shop has the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just super cheap stuff, and then people on the side of the road, my friend was looking to buy something, and he asked how much. Like, this is $35, and I mutter behind him, that's not that bad. The guy hears it, and he immediately goes, these are $35, these are $65. Like, I should have kept my mouth shut.
You learn a lot about negotiation, in those opportunities. Oh, that's awesome. Let's see, what haven't we covered yet? Let's talk more about spiritually, your preparation to serve a mission and your spiritual sort of desire to serve a mission. What have you learned, or what stands out to you, like when we talk in preschool, or when we, like you think about this last several years through teenagerdom, like what teaching of the gospel stands out to you where you think, I can't wait to share this with other people. Like, this would be so awesome to be able to talk about on a mission. I can't wait to like go into somebody's house and talk about blank. What stands out in your mind or in your heart where you're like so excited to share the gospel with other people?
What I have noticed is how I've heard other stories of how people will try to explain like just the nature of God or like the plan and the purpose of earth. And they have good reasons and they have like that faith and that trust that there is something better. But then they're still lacking in that complete knowledge and like the nature of God. They're like, he is a spirit who can exist everywhere, but he's also like our imaginary father. I'm like, that is good, but it's not the whole truth. And it's not something that gives as much hope as the complete knowledge that we have access to. And I think that's what I'm most excited to share about, is to help people understand. And so that when things are hard, they have more knowledge to trust and look upon, like they see how this is going to help them. And like the plan of salvation, like the exact process and the point of this life.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like, people tend to have a very fuzzy picture in their mind of like what God is or why they should care about religion at all, Like, maybe they were taught something as a child, maybe they were maybe even baptized as a child or something, but like they have a very distant relationship with whatever religion that they were brought up in. And so definitely on your mission, you'll have an opportunity to like teach people and like just provide them more information, right? Provide them more clarifying things, read to them from the scriptures or have them read from the scriptures.
Yeah.
And they can see like, oh, like I can learn more. And then the like fire lights up in their eyes, right? And they're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, there's so much to learn and so much to know. And, yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah. The first time I remember bearing my testimony, like actually having something to say, I remember I was so like nervous and shaky, and I go up and it was about a book I had read that had, no, I don't remember everything, but I remember it was one point of why someone believed the gospel, and it was logic. I like to analyze things and see how it all fits together, and the gospel with the full knowledge has that truth, that component where everything like makes sense and you can see it, and there are some things that we just can't understand, but if you just have faith in that, everything else makes even more sense. And then your understanding is opened and you see how all the purposes and all the reasons like actually line up.
That's great. What would you share to any, young people or even old people, like people who are thinking about, maybe I want to go on a mission? What would you tell them is like the number one thing that they need to focus on to like be ready to serve or to be excited about serving? Like, yeah, how do they get to that point that you're at right now?
Right now, I would say possibly start now, because I've heard other stories of people that like they have their mission call and they're still like not trying their hardest, and they say, I'll try when my mission starts. And I would say start now so your mission is more enjoyable, so you're not dealing with those extra things. And then your life will be blessed because of that. Like, it is not just, they're not just requirements so you can serve a mission and fulfill this responsibility so others are like, oh, you served a mission, good job. No, there are other things that just will make your life better in general. And going on a mission doesn't need to be the thing that starts you to living better. And it's just a wonderful experience. I haven't even gone yet, and I already know it's going to be great. Yeah. Just because of things both spiritual and temporal that you learn to help you grow in just so many ways that nothing else would promote that.
Yeah, one of the things I always emphasize, and I don't know if we talked about this ever, but I always emphasize with people, you're not going to wake up the first day of your mission and be a totally different person than you are in the days coming up to your mission. You're going to be the exact same person the next day when you wake up in the morning. And so becoming the person you want to be is something that you need to do right now. If you feel like you should be nicer to people, like be nicer now. You're not going to be a nice missionary or a kind person the day you wake up on a mission magically if you don't practice those things now. You're not going to have a testimony of the Book of Mormon if you don't start reading it now, right? And learn it now and have that testimony, start gaining that testimony now. So I love that advice of like start now, because there's nothing magical about this. The thing that came into mind as you talked was there are so many awesome things that happen in the preparation to serve a mission. And you can't skip over those or gloss over those, right? So like preparing to receive the Melchizedek priesthood, you're doing that right now. Preparing to attend the temple for the first time, right? And receive your endowment, you're doing that right now, right? So all of those steps are crucial and important in their own right. Like by themselves, they're spiritual, amazing experiences and growing experiences. And yes, we're kind of focused on a mission call because you got a letter from the prophet and yada, yada, yada. Like that's all exciting and we read it online, or whatever. Like there's a lot of hoopla around that, but the actual spiritual growth has happened in your life and like continues to happen as you prepare for these other really important steps too.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks, Matthew, for taking the time to chat with me about this.
Thank you.
It's been fun. See ya.